Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Another lunchtime video for me today. Julie is taking me to the United States Holocaust Museum. Did I say that full name? Is it right?
United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's a Smithsonian officially. Yeah, we'll look that up. But this one we did pay $1 to get a confirmed time to go into. Julie's been many times, done many long forms, and after she came back and told me what an amazing and interesting museum this is, she's going to take me. It's probably going to be a little depressing, of course, but I want to show you what I find that kind of piques my interest, if you will. So we're going to go there, spend, what time we can. I know there's multiple floors and multiple exhibits, so we're going to see what we can see as we always do in our lunch break. But we hope you come along with us. A little cloudy day today, nice little breeze. Super interested for many different reasons. So let's go to the Holocaust Museum.
It's one of my favorite museums here.
Yeah.
I have been 3 or 4 times now.
Okay.
And, I have not seen it all, and there's no way we're going to be able to see it all in this lunch break.
Yeah.
But we're going to show you a few things that catch Michael's attention and share it with you.
And share it. That's right. That's what we do here on the channel. Okay, here's the front entrance to the museum. Looks like there's also a special exhibit, Americans and the Holocaust. So I'm very interested to come in here, but for certainly different reasons than the other museums we've visited so far.
The building itself just looks kind of dismal, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
They picked a good building.
Yeah, they picked a really good building, yeah. Okay, yeah, the queue is inside on this one. For the space and aeronautical, it was outside, and it was a hot day, but today, this one's inside. I'll show you a little bit of the gallery here, walking into the queue. As you're waiting to have your ticket scanned, it asks you to pick up one of these identification cards, and it's a story, Julie tells me, from an individual that was actually in a concentration camp. So I'm going to read this story and get back to you.
I think this building is just perfect inside. It just looks dismal and gloomy. We do have some natural light coming in, but it's just oppressively metal and industrial. I don't know if it was built for the museum or if they repurposed this building, but it really starts the mood in the right, what's the word?
The somber mood?
Somberness. The exhibit starts out with this photograph of Americans encountering the camps in April 1945 and discovering the charred remains of prisoners. This is a starving concentration camp inmate in Germany in Buchenwald of 1945. This is an example of a uniform worn by stormtroopers and SS to block entrance to Jewish shops and stores. One of the more powerful things in this museum to me is the Essen Synagogue before Kristallnacht. And then after Kristallnacht.
Here's a Nazi flag that flew over Hitler, one of Hitler's vacation homes in Bavaria.
This is an exhibit on Hitler's initial extermination of young people or adults that he considered inferior because of their disabilities, whether mental or physical. This bed is actually from the Sackenberg Clinic, one of 30 institutions with a special children's ward where the young patients were killed by starvation, lethal injections, or overdoses of medicines mixed in their food. And then here is Hartheim Castle, which was one of 6 gassing sites for Operation T4. The smoke rising is coming from the crematorium where the victims' bodies were burned. This is in Alkoven, Austria.
Okay guys, so we just left the museum. I know there was only a few minutes of footage there. I do plan on going back, as much as I hate to say that because it's such a double-edged sword. But I couldn't talk through any of the video, so I very quickly told Julie that you know, what should we do? So we went. She took me through it. She showed me the floors, and I hope to come back and be able to actually do a lunch video. That was I will say this: the guide that put us in the elevator and took us up to the top told us that she hoped we had a meaningful experience, and that's the best way that I can describe it, because you can't say it's good or bad. It was a meaningful experience, life-changing, I think, in some ways, absolutely horrifying and heartbreaking in many others. But that is all that we filmed. You've seen exactly what we filmed.
What were the parts that stood out to you the most?
I walked in and you immediately get hit with death. You filmed it.
Yeah.
You immediately get hit with death, and it is unabashed. The whole museum, there is nothing off limits. And I think for us, and the way that we have been taught, you know, growing up, to have all of these ratings and caution, there was nothing like that. You didn't know what you were going to encounter, but you encounter something, and it never stops. It never leaves you until you, and they purposefully take you up to the 4th floor, and you walk all the way down through all of it, and it is horrendous, and it is the most inhumane, demoralizing content that I have certainly ever seen, and it never stops. And the way they lit the place, and the way that it feels like it is compressing you and claustrophobic. The environment's on purpose, and it's just, there's not really words for someone who's never been in there. I didn't really believe Julie to the full extent that she told me. She's like, you might cry through, because I cry at the drop of a hat, but she's like, you might cry the whole way through. And it was just, I couldn't even talk to her at some point, because she's trying to describe these shoes that they have from the camps that you just walk through, and it is,
The shoes
I don't know,
they didn't want.
yeah, the shoes that the Germans didn't want or couldn't put back into society. And so anyway, apologies for that. I never thought that anything that I was going to have in my mind as educational purposes was going to come to a point that I couldn't speak to even film. So that is where we are. I saved the identification card. I told you that I was going to tell you who this was. Apparently each page was for a floor. I read all of it while we were waiting in line to get on the elevator. But this is what I saved, what I came out with. There was a gift shop. We talked about books that we might want to read, but the experience, you have to get back out into fresh air, into
That's why we're in a
daylight.
park right now.
You have to get out into daylight. It is so oppressive in there. You got to shake it off. You have to come out. I mean, I'll have to, because we've not been out for 10 minutes. So anyway, my apologies for not filming as much. To think about profiting off of something like that is just, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So I'm going to show you this real quick though before we leave. For those of you who don't know, the Holocaust Museum is just right across the street from the Washington Monument and the National Mall. That's actually a stop that you have to get off on of the train. And over here on your right, or now in the middle of the screen, is the Museum of African, is it culture and art, Jules? I can't remember the full name of that. My apologies. So I'm going to show you the monument and read a little bit of this. They're almost set up like memorial folders for those of you who recognize that from a funeral home. But when you you pick it up and you open it, you have a photo here and you have a little bit of a story. This is Ida Gierbaum, 1926, and she is from Poland. And she's the second youngest of 9 children, it said, born to religious Jewish parents in a town that was East Central, that's how they describe it, in Poland. So they were in a 1-story house. Her father passes away, and she ends up getting forced out of her home because SS guards came into that town and put all of the Jewish people into the marketplace. So while she was already in a labor camp, she was considered to be able-bodied and was marched to another forced labor camp, and that's where she actually served food to individuals in that part of Poland. And then a typhus epidemic broke out, which happened to many, many thousands of the Jewish people. That's eventually what took her life. And so each one of these, there were stacks and stacks, and they ask you to pull one as you walk into the line, and then, like I said, immediately get on an elevator. And so that was the one that I pulled today. So hope to come back and film more. Apologize for the emotions on this one. But if you're ever in DC, please do yourself a favor and go by. Without having the living history, we tend to forget. And so I had to do this one with Jules. And today ended up being that day, for good or bad. So thank you as always for watching, everyone. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you in another one very soon.
I wanted to add that for me, the most powerful things that I see that always, they've made me cry every time I've come to this museum now. I believe this is my 5th time here. I've been going through these exhibits one by one and reading everything, making sure I didn't miss everything. And of course we didn't have that kind of time today. But I can't even walk past the kids' artwork, which is in my video about the final solution, I believe, and the medical experiments. I can't walk past those without stopping. It's like I know it's gonna hurt, but I need to stop there every single time I come to this museum. Those kids were 10, 12, 14 years old, drawing art, and I think it's the Lutz ghetto, or the Warsaw ghetto, and it managed to survive. It was smuggled out, and just the things they were drawing, some of them are just normal kids drawing colorful, happy things, but some of those kids were drawing oppressively dismal, gloomy, using black and gray and brown, and
there were no real bright colors. Did you see the one that had the house?
Yes, the house looks like it has eyes, and it looks like it's eating something. It's just the psychology behind those kids' drawings is, that one gets me every single time I'm here. And then the video of the medical experiments that were being conducted, and that to me gets me just probably more so than the actual gas chamber exhibit, is what they were doing to humans before they got rid of them.
Just to see what would happen. Just for curiosity's sake.
I cannot imagine that level of hate in my heart for anything. Even for the people who did that. I got so angry when I saw they were talking about, who was it? Was it Mengele who was hanged? I'll put it on the screen here. I
think so. I think you're right.
I forgot who it was. He escaped and lived as a fugitive for some years. But then was caught and put on trial, and of course found guilty, and he was sentenced to death, and he appealed. The appeal was denied, and they hanged him after all those years of everything he did.
I'm gonna have a little bonus footage here before we end. We're at the corner of Independence Avenue. I'm getting ready to get on the metro station. I was telling Julie this story, and she told me to tell it on here. So one of the things that got me the most was when you have a whole section of liberating the concentration camps, and in liberating the concentration camps, they break it up by country. So there's a U.S. section, and then there's a Soviet Union section, and there's a United Kingdom section. In the U.S. section, there's this huge photograph that shows right when the military jeeps come through with American troops and the reactions of the prisoners' faces. And that was just, I don't know, that one was tough. And then at the bottom, the piece of memorabilia is actually a Nazi flag that was dropped, and a U.S. flag was raised at that camp. So I thought I would tell that story really quickly before we head to the metro. All right, I'm gone, I swear. Bye.
You would think, visiting the museum as many times as I have, it would get easier.
No.
It doesn't. It actually gets harder.
I can completely understand why you say that.
It feels like I know these people now, and I feel like I'm visiting something familiar, and so every time I go, it is worse. It is harder. It's almost that like brain trick of thinking maybe something will be different.
Yeah, maybe it'll be changed.
Maybe there'll be something happy or hopeful.
Yeah.
I have repeatedly visited this museum, and it is really near and dear and close to my heart, and it does not get easier. It gets harder.
It's worse, yeah. You get more emotion. You had more emotion each time.
Yeah, it feels like I know them now.
Yeah.
It feels like people I know, stories I know.
Right.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed hearing our thoughts on the Holocaust Museum. I'm sorry we didn't share much more footage, but I have been trying to film this entire museum in installments that have been coming out on this channel. So if you want to go back and watch any of those, please feel free. Otherwise, I did visit the gift shop and I bought a pack of postcards. I just wanted to contribute in some way. We don't need this many postcards, and we would love to send this one out. If there's anybody watching this video who would like this postcard, please leave a comment down below, and the first person we will respond and give you an email address where you can give us your mailing address. And we'd like to write you a note and say thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you another day in another adventure.